Thank you very much. Well, thanks for the introduction. It's been a very busy year for Talisman. It's great to be back here and give you an update on what we've been up to in the last year. And for those of you that don't know the story, it's fantastic to be able to introduce it to you. We're a very well-funded company. We have approximately $10 million in the bank. We've, in the last year, returned 22 cents to shareholders from a transaction that we did on a joint venture interest. That leaves us very well leveraged to create growth in share price value from the projects that we have. And I'm here to talk to you about those three projects that we have. The first is the New South Wales Lachlan Copper Gold Project. We have a significant land holding, a highly mineralised region, underexplored and very little modern exploration. We've been very active on that ground in the last year, doing a lot of the reconnaissance work. That's led us to identify multiple targets, base metal, copper, gold, and we have drill rigs that are set to turn in the coming weeks at a number of recently identified gold targets, and also follow-up work at the Blind Calf region, where we've had very good economic grade copper mineralisation intersections, and we will be getting the drill rig turning into that later this year. We also have the Lucknow high-grade gold project. That's a very recent farm-in. We've just stepped into that region. It's a historic gold mine. Over 400,000 ounces were extracted between 1850 and the early 1900s. Over 100 grams per tonne gold. Very high grade, very good potential. Hasn't really been looked at depth and in some of the other region. So we think that there is the opportunity to use modern exploration in that region, target extensional mineralisation, and also to test some of the interpreted regional structures that have not yet been looked at. The third asset that we have is the Sinclair Nickel Project. It's a mine on care and maintenance. It has a resource base that's approximately 400 metres below surface. It's supported by infrastructure on surface, including a processing plant and camp, and that has opportunities for value based on nickel price. But also strategically there may be opportunities to realise some value from that asset. So very quickly I'll go through the capital structure. As you can see, we've got a very tight capital structure, less than 200 million shares on issue. That's very important to us. It's the focus on making sure we retain good exposure for our shareholders for uplift from success. With that 10 million cash, we have approximately $9 million of enterprise value. Very well placed to take these projects forward and create value into that share price with only less than 200 million shares on issue. And we have a very good, diverse breadth of team internally in terms of the executive team, and also on the board with operational experience and investment banking experience and geological experience. What you can see there in the share price graph, that was the announcement of the Springfield transaction in May last year. We went from 20 to approximately 30 cents. We returned 22 cents in a dividend and a return of capital, which is why you can see the share price fall there when we did that return. And as I say, now nicely placed to really be leveraged to create value from the projects that we have. So I'll turn into the Lachlan project now. It's an extensive package of ground, over 3,000 square kilometres. You can see that there in the green, red and orange boxes. Because it's such a large project, we split that into a central, northern and southern region. What we're interested in here is the large-scale structures that are critical to the development in the Cobar Super Basin, which is very well endowed. You've got the Rookery Fault on the left there that runs where you see the Cobar deposits. And through our tenements is the Gilmore Suture. These are the plumbing systems that provide the pathways for mineralisation, and we're focused along that strike there, along that structure there, where there is potential for a number of styles of mineralisation from this deep plumbing system, particularly high-grade gold and copper. There is also well-established mines within the region. A lot of them are running now. Some of them are older, high-grade gold mines. So there's good opportunity to commercialise any potential discovery. We have a very, very systematic approach to exploration, very cost effective. We undertake reconnaissance work first. As I say, this is a region that's not been explored for a number of years. We do low cost soils and auger drilling that gives us the data and gives us the anomalism that allows us to effectively de-risk in terms of wanting to put the RC drilling into some of those areas. That's that next stage of target development work and refined targeting. From a review that we did in 2019, we identified a number of targets. You can see those there in those red dots. And we basically have tested some of those with the first pass reconnaissance work and identified a number of targets to drill in the coming weeks, the coming months, and into 2020. And what I'll do now is just talk to you about the most advanced of those. So if we look here in the southern region, you can see that red box that just came up, which is in the northern part of that southern region. I'm just going to zoom in now to that, which is an aerial shot here of what we call the Blind Calf Prospect region. What we're looking for here is structurally hosted high-grade copper mineralization. Those red lines that you can see are either outcropping or mapped mineralized lodes, i.e. Where we interpret it to be lodes of mineralization that run at depth. These have not been tested before. We did some drilling in June this year, May to July in fact, and from there and some downhole surveys that we did, we've identified a number of downhole conductors from the holes that we've drilled. There's something there that's conductive, and we'll be putting some holes into that where we interpret those mineralized trends to be later this year. The trend in there that we do know about, the mineralized lode that we call the Blind Calf Dunbars lode, that's been drilled by us. I think we've had 3 programs into that now. The most recent program only had a few holes into there, but very good high-grade copper mineralization we've identified in the drilling. It's economic grade. It's open at depth, and we don't quite know, what the scale will be. We think we're into a very good mineralized environment here and a mineralized trend. And we'll need to test that with diamond drilling and, as I say, some RC or diamond into some of these conductors as well. I'm just going to take the time to look just very briefly into the Blind Calf Dunbars lode. What you'll see here in a moment is the long section that I'm going to bring up. So that's A to B there. So we're now going to look at a slice through the ground where you can see that that particular mineralized lode of Dunbars and Blind Calf. So you're now looking at a slice through the ground. Blind Calf and Dunbars are there at the surface. They're the shafts that are outcropped. 20% copper was taken out from those shafts to about 30 meters below surface. That's oxidized copper that was taken out in the early 1900s. We've done drilling below that because we think that these systems open up at depth. And you can see that that's exactly what's happened when you look on the left-hand side there as the breadth and the width of this gets wider. And what we really like is that dark purple there is copper intersections that are over 5% copper. So we have a high-grade component to this. It plunges down there to the left-hand side of the page, which is to the north. And the most recent hole that we drilled was Blind Calf BRC 29, 10 meters at 4.3% copper. And if you look on the right-hand side, which is a cross-section, what I just draw your attention to there is the difference between BCRC 7 and the step down, which is approximately 50 meters, of BCRC 29. So effectively, we extended that high-grade component by 50 meters with the last drilling, and we will be getting diamond holes in to drill this in that bottom left-hand corner of the image where it's extending down plunge and has never been tested. So very excited to move into that. Before we do that, we will be following up some of the reconnaissance targets that we drilled earlier this year that have given us some really good gold in soils anomalies. As a managing director, I particularly like this because it's low-cost work that allows us to cover a lot of those targets that we've identified. It gives us good information. It gives us the confidence to go in and do the RC drilling. We drilled, I think, probably 12 to 14 reconnaissance targets. We've got 5 solid, good, high-grade, I shouldn't say high-grade, but good gold in soil anomalies. And we have RC drilling coming in those, happening there in the coming weeks. Most likely that will start sometime in the first half of October once we've got the approvals and everything lined up. I'm just going to take some time to show you those very quickly. What you'll see here is the blind calf golden soil anomaly. That sits in that same region just north of blind calf. That's on the left-hand side. Those red spots there are the hot spots where we've got the elevated gold in the soils. We'll put some RC drilling into that. As I said, that anomaly is over 1 kilometre. On the right-hand side, we have Melrose. That's over 2.3 kilometres long. And we haven't actually done the soil sampling to the northwest, which may extend that anomalism. So that's an area that we're very excited to get into. It's a substantial area, and we'll be doing RC drilling in the coming weeks. The other areas that we have sit in the same sort of region, probably about 6 or 7 kilometres to the east. They sit in what we interpret as a mineralised trend, where there is already a established historic mine called the Mineral Hill Mine. That's a Mineral Hill corridor. Again, you can see the mineralisation there in those hot spots in terms of the elevated gold in soils that we'll be targeting in terms of understanding whether there's mineralisation at depth with the RC drilling. In the central prospect, this time last year when I was talking to you, we'd just done some drilling into what we call the Combine prospect. That was following up an IP anomaly, so some data that we had from, I think, the 1980s to the early 1990s. There was a target that hadn't been drilled, a magnetic target. We put 2 holes into that. You can see in the bottom of that image in the centre there the previous talisman drill holes. What we've managed to do since then is fly an aeromag survey, another low-cost piece of reconnaissance work that really gives us some good geological information. We've refined the targeting there, and we actually think that we were off the target position, and we'll put some holes in to drill that as well. So to wrap up the Lachlan project, there's a lot of news flow coming. There is other reconnaissance targets that need to be drilled and tested at a low cost. There are 5 gold in soil geochemical targets that will be drilled with RC drilling in the coming few weeks. There is the blind calf mineralised trend. There is the downhole conductors in the other mineralised positions, all to be drilled in this year and on into 2020. So it's a very exciting project, and one that we've only had for a couple of years ourselves. The farming we recently entered into is Lucknow Gold. This is some gold in calcite from that mine from around the 1850s. As I say, it operated very successfully back in the 1850s, very, very high grade. It's in the Macquarie Arc, where there is a number of gold deposits and some substantial deposits. Where we are is that red box there, which is on the Lucknow trend. It is an area that's had over 400,000 ounces of gold, and at over 100 grams per tonne, so very, very high grade. Because it's had no modern exploration, there lies a lot of opportunity for us. We've only recently moved into this farming, and we are busy working up the first programs that we will do. What they will be is initially some soil sampling in those red ovoid areas on the structures that have yet to really be looked at, and also a 3D model and interpretation of where the mineralisation sits, which is where you can see that Lucknow label, and we're basically targeting mineralisation at depth that is yet to be tested. We don't know if there's mineralisation there, but what we do see are some voids where there's not been any work done, and at those sort of grades it's a very exciting thing to be able to target. The farming itself involves us spending $350,000 in the next year before going on and spending another $350,000 if we want to earn 51%, and we can go on and spend beyond that another $800,000 for 70% if we wish to. So it's a very effective way to test this opportunity.